Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod Science classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to see current affairs of 12th July 2021. In this lecture, we are going to discuss 7 topics which are very much relevant to UPSC. So let's get started with our discussion and let us see first topic. Title says new population policy keeps all sections in mind. Okay, this is a statement which is given by UP's Chief Minister. So this article mainly talking about UP's new population policy. So why UP came up with this population policy? As you all know that UP is the most populous state. So mainly to control population, so here UP government came up with this new population policy. So this article will be important regarding GS paper to under society because population comes under our society, right? So why we need to talk about this topic, why we need to control this population. So when we are talking about whenever there is increase in population, what happens, whatever the area which is present, so that will be mainly compacted. And as well as whenever there is increase in population, that will leads to increase in poverty. So why increase in population leads to poverty? Because for example, if you take a small or nuclear family, it mainly contains mother, father and 2 children. But if you are taking a large family with a father, mother and 4 or 5 children means, so in this nuclear family, this family will help mainly to contribute their savings for purpose of their children. But here these parents, they cannot afford for providing all basic amenities for this 4 to 5 children. So because of this, what happened, there is no proper education that is seen in this type of families and that will lead to poverty, right? So and also because of this, one more thing you need to remember here is, so whenever there is no gap between first and second child, then what happened, the first child will be affected because after pregnant about 4 to 5 months, so after this 4 to 5 months, mother should not give milk to her baby. So because of this, it will affect mainly children, nutrition, okay. So this is also one important thing we need to keep in mind here. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. First, let us see context. So if you see context, it mainly says that every section of society must join in awareness program for population control. So this is a statement which is given by UP's Chief Minister. So UP's Chief Minister mainly launched state population policy for 2021 to 2030. So in this context, he mainly said that so every section of society must join in awareness programs of this population control. So this is context. And now let us try to talk about some important details regarding this policy. Here Chief Minister of UP mainly said that rising population was root of many problems or majority of problems and prevailing inequality in our society. So because of huge population, it is one of important reason because that will lead to increase in competition for job opportunities. And if only the skilled people they are getting jobs means, so most of the people they are rest remained. Okay, so because of this, it will be leading to poverty and as well as some social problems, inequality in society. So one of important reason or one of the important main cause or root cause for majority of problems in our society, it is a population, rising population. So increase in population, it can be an obstacle even to development of that state. So because of this, new policy mainly drafted, keeping in mind all sections of society. So if there is no gap between birth of children, that is from first child to second child and third child, so what happens, it will naturally affect their nutrition. So further it will lead to malnutrition. Again, this malnutrition is one of important problem or challenge we are facing now. So because of this, whenever we need to address this malnutrition, so we need to also control birth. Okay, so this is the one important background here. And here mainly to control this nutrition, so mainly to give proper nutrition for children and to address this malnutrition problem, so what can be done? So we can allow spacing between 2 children and we need to control rise of population. So if you're talking about important features of this policy, so first and the foremost thing here is UP's policy that is between 2021 to 2030, which mainly launched to reduce maternal and as well as infant deaths. So what is this maternal mortality rates? That means mothers, okay, mothers they will lose their life. for every 1 lakh birth. Okay, so for every 1 lakh birth or birth cases, so how many mothers are dying or leaving their life, so that is called as maternal mortality rate. So this maternal mortality rate, which is mainly associated with early pregnancies and pregnancy complications, and as well as we can say that whenever there is a less gap between two children, that will also affect reproductive health of mother, and it is also one of leading cause for increasing maternal mortality rate. And one more important thing is there is no proper institutional delivery. So in some rural areas till now also there are many people, they will go for home deliveries only. They are not coming to hospital for institutional deliveries and for some supportive care. So in this context we can see there is increased rate of MMR, because after delivery what happened, so there is a high chance of getting infections for mother. So because of this, it is one of important cause for this maternal mortality. So mainly to decrease this maternal mortality, government came up with a number of schemes like Janani Suraksha Yojana, and as well as it is came up with institutional delivery, and is also government also providing some incentives also, okay, for first delivery or first pregnancy, like that. So this is about maternal mortality rate in brief. So regarding this maternal mortality and as well as infant deaths, so mainly to decrease them in a time bounded manner. So that is one important feature of this new population policy of UP. And next one is to decrease fertility rate, total fertility rate. So what is meaning of this TFR? TFR means in reproductive life of women. So how many births that will be delivered by women is called as this TFR, that is total fertility rate. So total fertility rate means in with this reproductive cycle, that means reproductive age of women, okay, till menopause. So woman is giving to how many children's birth, okay, so that is called as TFR. So if you are talking about TFR in UP, it is 2.7, that means women can give birth to 2.7 children, approximately we can say 3 children. So we need to decrease that TFR rate from 2.7 to 2.1 by 2026 and 1.7 by 2030. So this is one important target under this new population policy of UP. And next one is to increase modern contraceptive prevalence rate. So contraceptives will be very important, and we can get contraceptives separately for female and as well as men. Okay, so we are having temporary contraceptive measures and as well as permanent contraceptive measures. Okay, for permanent we can say vasectomy or tubectomy. Okay, so if you're talking about this contraceptive prevalence rate, which is very much low in this rural areas and as well as less literacy areas. So here we need to increase from 31.7% now in UP to 45% by 2026, and it should be further increased to 52% by 2030. So this is some important target. And next one is male contraception methods used to be increased from 10.8 to 15.1 by 2026. And to decrease maternal mortality rates, so now it is about 197 for 1 lakh births. So we need to decrease it to 150 by 2026 and to decrease further 98 by 2030. So this is one important target of this new population policy. And next one is to decrease infant mortality rate. That means whenever children are born, so within 1 month, so how many people are dying, okay? So that is called as neonates. So this is called as infant mortality rate, means within how many months, so these children, they are losing their life, okay? So let me know in comment box what is difference between neonates and infants, okay? Please do some research, this is very important. So what is difference between neonates and infants? Neonates means newly born children, okay? Infant means somewhat grown up children. So you need to understand difference between these neonates and infants. So to decrease this infant mortality rate, that is for 1000 live births. So if you are talking about MMR, that is maternal mortality rate, it is for 1 lakh births, but it is for 1000 only. You have to remember this difference. And to decrease this infant mortality rate, that is from 43 out of 1000 live births to 32 by 2026, and it should be decreased further by 2022 by 2030. So this is an important target. And next one is to decrease under 5 deaths, okay, under 5 deaths. So now it is about 45 per 1000 live births, and we need to decrease it to by 35 by 2026, it is 2026, and by 25 to 2030. So these are some important targets which are mainly proposed in this population policy. So these are the important steps or important features in this UP's population policy. Okay, so it is mainly targeting stabilization of population. So the state would attempt to maintain a balance of population among various communities, and it is mainly focusing on awareness and as well as extensive programs that would help among those communities, cadres and geographical areas. They are mainly seen in these high fertility areas. Okay, so this is about this topic. I hope it is clear. And now let us move on to next topic. Title says Chinese protest against Dalai Lama's birthday celebration. So this article mainly focusing on this Dalai Lama. So especially for students who are beginners, they need to know who is this Dalai Lama, right? So they might be already confused with who is this Dalai Lama, etc. So in this lecture, we are going to see why it is in news first of all, and we are going to see why China, which is mainly protesting against this Dalai Lama's birthday celebrations, and now we are going to see actually who is this Dalai Lama. So these are the things now we are going to cover, and please focus. So this article will be important regarding GS paper 2 under international relations. So this is the one important area we need to focus. It is also one conflict area between India and China. Okay. So now let us see context. Here Chinese nationals, they displayed banners in protest from across Indus River close to line of actual control when Indian villagers, they were celebrating birthday of Dalai Lama in Demchok in eastern Ladakh. So in this Demchok area, so this is also one recent military standoff area between India and China. So this Demchok area, so in this Demchok area, Indian villagers, they were celebrating birthday of this Dalai Lama. Okay, but in this context, what happened? Chinese nationals, they displayed banners in protest from across Indus River, which is very much close to line of actual control, and they are mainly protesting the celebrations of this Dalai Lama's birthday. So because of this, this is in news. And now let us try to talk about what is conflict between India and China regarding this Dalai Lama. So who is this Dalai Lama? Dalai Lama mainly enjoys a spiritual status in India. China mainly considers this Dalai Lama as a separatist, and he had a great influence over Tibetans. So Dalai Lama also gave up his support for Tibetan independence in 1974. So and also he wants China to stop repression against this community who is living in this Tibet. So because of this, here China mainly does not like this Dalai Lama. So even our former Prime Minister, that is Jawaharlal Nehru ji, also agreed to provide all assistance to Tibetan refugees to settle in India until eventual return to their places. And in that time, what happened? Government of India also built some special schools for Tibetans, and also Indian government started providing free education and as well as a health care and scholarship for these Tibetans. So India's role in rehabilitation of this refugees or Tibetan refugees, which is mainly criticized by India. So China. So China mainly says that this all thing done because of this Dalai Lama. So here mainly Dalai Lama, which is mainly not considered Dalai Lama mainly considered as separatist by China here. Okay, so this is about some facts and some details regarding why there is a Sino-Indian conflict between this regarding this Dalai Lama. And if you're talking about this, who is this Dalai Lama? Dalai Lama mainly believed by Tibetan Buddhists as manifestation of Avalokiteshvara. And Avalokiteshvara is also called as Chenrezig in Chinese language, and he is the Bodhisattva of compassion and patron saint of Tibet. So if you're talking about this Bodhisattva realized beings inspired by the wish to attain complete enlightenment. So these are some important facts that you need to remember. And now let us move on to next topic. Title says new IT rules are empowering and will protect users. So this article mainly talking about new information technology rules. So recently government came with this new information technology rules for social media platforms and as well as OTT platforms. So this article mainly focusing on the social media platforms. So we already discussed about this topic in a very great detail. but it was a while ago, right? So you might have forgot about those important features. And now let us have a recap about that new IT rules. So this article will be important regarding GS paper 2 under polity and governance. So now let us try to talk about this topic in a very great detail. First, let us focus on context, why it is in news. So Information Technology and Communication Minister, he said that new information technology rules, they were empowering and protecting users. And these rules, they will ensure a safer and more responsible social media ecosystem in India. So this is a statement which is given by our Information Technology and Communication Minister. So here our Information Technology and Communication Minister, he mainly said that these new information technology rules, they are empowering and also protecting users. And these new rules are mainly ensuring a safer and as well as more responsible social media ecosystem in India. So now let us try to see how they are providing responsible social media ecosystem in India. So we are going to talk about that. So now let us try to see some more details which are given in this topic. So if you see details, it mainly says that new rules which came into effect that from May 25th, 2021 onwards. So these rules mainly mandated that social media companies, they need to establish a grievance redressal mechanism. So this grievance redressal mechanism will be very helpful mainly for resolving any complaints from users or any victims of this social media. So first one here social media platforms, they need to establish grievance redressal mechanism. So this will be very much helpful for resolving of complaints from users and as well as victims. Who are these victims? For example, if there is any girl, so any post regarding that girl which is mainly circulated in social media, or any pornographic videos or any photos or blackmailing things, so that is mainly circulating in social media means, so that victim can approach this grievance redressal mechanism and within 24 hours whatever the content which is circulating in that social media, that need to be stopped. So this is the main aim. And next one is significant social media companies who are having user base of more than 50 lakhs, they need to appoint this grievance officer, okay, to deal with such complaints and to share name and contact details of such officers. So here whenever the social media platforms are appointing this grievance officer, so they need to share name and as well as contact details of that officers such that complaints can be filed by victims. And next one is big social media companies, they are also mandated to appoint chief compliance officer. So this chief compliance officer, he will be a nodal contact person and a resident grievance officer of that social media platform. And if you're talking about concerns, we already discussed about this. Recently, Facebook owned WhatsApp, which mainly challenged this new IT rules for this social media intermediaries. It mainly saying that whenever they are mainly tracing the chats or making provisions to identify first originator of information, which is mainly violating right to privacy, which mainly comes under Article 21 of Indian Constitution. So this is the thing which mainly said in famous case Puttaswamy judgment, right? So it said that whenever it is violating right to privacy, it is unconstitutional. So in this way here, WhatsApp mainly challenged this new IT rules for this social media intermediaries. Okay, but Supreme Court mainly said that, so this right to privacy is not an absolute right. So there can be some reasonable restrictions that can be imposed. Okay. And if you see, second important thing mainly challenged by this WhatsApp here is whenever intermediaries, they want to trace originator of information. So in this WhatsApp, they are having this end-to-end encryption. So they cannot trace this originator of information. So these are some important concerns regarding this new IT rules. So this is just of this topic and I hope it is very much clear now. Now let us move on to next topic. Title says Kesaria Buddha Stupa waterlogged. So this article mainly talking about one Buddhist archaeological site, that is Kesaria Buddha Stupa. So you have to open your Art and Culture Nitin Singhania book and try to read about this, what is this Buddha Stupa. So it will be like this, okay. So here we have Harmika, Chetri, etc. and here we have Padakshina Pratha. So these are some important features. This is called as Anda, Chatri, Harmika, Pradakshina Pratha. So these are some important parts of this Buddhist stupa. So you have to remember those architecture, that will be very important from art and culture point of view. And every year you can expect questions from this Buddhism in your prelims and as well as mains. So now let us try to talk about this topic in a very great detail. And this topic will be important regarding GS paper 1 actually. GS paper 1 under art and culture and as well as ancient history. So now let us try to talk about this topic in a very great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that world's famous Kesaria Buddha Stupa in East Champaran district of Bihar. So this mainly waterlogged. So why waterlogged? Because of the floods in some parts of the districts after heavy rainfall in catchment areas of river Gandak. So in this river Gandak area, in this river Gandak catchment area, because of heavy rainfall, that led to floods. So because of these floods, that led to water loss of this Buddha Stupa. So if you say some important details, it mainly says that East and West Champaran districts, they share their borders with Nepal and at many places. So because of this heavy rainfall in this river area, we saw floods. So it is one of cause of concern because it may suffer damage to this stupa according to Archaeological Survey of India. So if you are talking about some important facts regarding this stupa, so this stupa located about 110 kilometers from state capital, that is Patna. And if you are talking about circumference, it is almost 400 feet and it stands at a height of 104 feet. Height is 104 feet and circumference, that is this circumference, it is 400 feet and height here is 104 feet. So this is an important thing that you need to remember. And this Buddha was built by King Ashoka. So this is one important prelims fact that you need to remember. And the construction of this stupa was belonging to or date back to 3rd century BCE. And it is one of the largest Buddha stupa in world and it has been drawing tourists from across several Buddhist countries. And this site discovered in 1998 during an excavation by Archaeological Survey of India. And this site is also known with other name, that is Kesaputta. And this Kesara Stupa, which is also located in Java. So Kesaria Stupa, which is located in Java, and Kesaputta, which is located in this Bihar. So you have to remember this and please don't confuse with these two words. And if you see here, this stupa exploration was started in early 19th century. And first of all, it was discovered by Colonel Mackenzie in 1814, and later on excavations carried out by General Cunningham in 1861 to 1862, and later on in 1998, Archaeological Survey of India team, which mainly led by archaeologist K.K. Muhammad, had excavated this site properly. So these are some important things that you need to remember. And now let us move on to next topic. Title says Kabul airport gets anti-missile system. So this article mainly talking about this Kabul airport and anti-missile system. So what is the context? Already we are discussing about this Afghanistan issue from last 1 year onwards. So what happened recently, US mainly said that it is going to withdraw its troops from Afghanistan by September 11, 2021. It mainly marks 20th anniversary of attacking of Twin Towers in US, right? So you all know about this. So what happened because of withdrawing of the troops from Afghanistan? So there is increasing space for Taliban to expand. And this article says that more than 85% of a city which is under control of Taliban in Afghanistan. So because of this here, Taliban are mainly doing some deadly attacks, violence. So because of this here, Kabul airport gets this anti-missile system. But why anti-missile system now? Because earlier what happened, US military mainly installed CRAMS, that is a counter rocket artillery and mortar system. But here US is withdrawing, right? So because of this, it need to withdraw that also. So because of this, Kabul airport came up with this anti-missile system now. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So this topic is important regarding GS paper 2 under international relations. Okay. So if you see context, it mainly says that Afghanistan authorities said that they have installed an anti-missile system at Kabul airport to counter incoming rockets. Taliban mainly pressed on which a ballistic offense across the country. So because of this, what happened? So here this thing or this anti-missile system mainly launched by Afghanistan authorities or Afghanistan government. So if you're talking here, why? Because Washington and its allies like NATO, they are mainly withdrawing their troops from Afghanistan. So because of this, now insurgents, they have control of about 85% of country. Now it raised fears about security of the capital and as well as airport. So because of this, here in Kabul airport, here government came with this anti-missile system. So if you're talking about some important facts, here Taliban have regularly launched rockets and as well as mortars at government forces across the country wide, and they are also carrying out similar strikes on capital that started in 2020 onwards. So earlier we are having this US military installed several CRAMS, which mainly stands for counter rocket artillery and mortar systems, and across its bases. But mainly here US it is withdrawing and as well as NATO forces are withdrawing. So because of this, now this step is mainly taken by Afghan authorities, mainly to safeguard their capital and as well as their airport in Kabul. Okay, so this is about this topic. And now let us move on to next topic. Title says tapping on the potential of the youth. So this article is in news because July 11th. So July 11th, it is World's Population Day. Okay, so because of this, here this article mainly focused on youth. So here we are connecting this World's Population Day with demographic dividend, and what are the challenges we are mainly facing regarding this demographic dividend in this COVID-19 pandemic. And here this article mainly talked about way forward what can be done. So this article will be important regarding GS paper 2 under society, which is important from mains point of view, from not prelims that much. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So if you see here July 11th, which is a World's Population Day. So here we are celebrating this World Population Day on July 11th to focus attention on importance of population related issues. And this World Population Day was first observed by United Nations Development Program in 1989. So important aim of this day, it is to raise some disclosure on sustainable ways to safeguard each life that adds up to population. And next one is even global study by Lancet, it mainly said that India will stabilize its population 12 years earlier than expected. So whenever there is stabilization in population, means we can say that, so there will be no number of newborn childs will be seen. So because of this, whatever the demographic dividend we are having, that will be decreased or narrower. Okay, so here the fears of population are misplaced. Now we are mainly focused on this demographic dividend. Demographic dividend will be narrower than we had thought. So in this context, what is the need? So whoever the demographic dividend that we are having, so for that people we need to go for attention, we need to go for paying of attention, skill development, etc. So if you're talking about impact of pandemic here, 253 million Indians as adolescent population, so they are mainly affected by this pandemic, and about 62% of India, which is aged between 15 to 59 years, they will comes under this demographic dividend, and median age group is 30 years. And next one is India's demographic dividend mainly represents the potential for economic growth, which mainly based on age structure of population. And finally, if you want to focus on this transforming this potential into reality, so we need to focus on health and as well as well-educated adolescents and as well as youth. So if you're talking about education in India before pandemic also, so education sector which is a very underfunded, and in education we can see inadequately equipped. We are mainly not providing proper skills to young people, and if you're talking about our textbooks, they are updated I think 5 to 10 years back, so there is no recent updations. So whenever there is no recent updations every year, then what happened, whatever the technology we are using, so our students, they will not know that. But if you compare with other developed countries, our Indians will be far behind. So because of this, they are not competitive for other developed countries here. So because of this, if you're talking about education in India, even before pandemic, so education sector which is a very much underfunded in India, and even whatever the equipment we are mainly using, so that is inadequate. So even recent report mainly says that, so in India, so many schools are not having access to internet and as well as computer. So whenever we are not having access to computer and internet, how can we go for this online teaching, right? So here these schools, and we can say in education in India which is inadequately equipped to provide skills to young people, and we need to take advantage of emerging employment opportunities now. Okay, so if you're talking about data, it mainly says that World Bank says that public expenditure on education, which is about 4.4 percentage of GDP as per 2019, and if you see the data of 2020, it is 3.4 percentage because of COVID-19 pandemic that decreased expenditure on education. And next one is India's stand. It is mainly in a 62 place in terms of public expenditure per student, and India it is ranking very much bad in quality of education measures, for example student teacher ratios, etc. If you're talking about India, there are more than 32 crore students, so out of this 15.8 crore students are female itself, and here 32 crore students, they have been affected national wide by lockdown because of this COVID-19. And next one is 158 million, and many of those who are dropped out of schools or education. So studies mainly says that whenever there is a closure of schools that is happening, that will be having severe impact on lives and as well as mental well-being of the children. So if you're talking about impact of this pandemic on adolescents, so in International Labour Organization mainly says that 65% of adolescents worldwide, they reported they are going for this learning loss during this pandemic, and 51% they felt that their learning would be further delayed because of this COVID-19 pandemic, and 17% of young people, they are likely to be suffering from anxiety and as well as depression because of this closure of schools as well as closure of colleges, etc. So in this context, policymakers, they need to balance risk of transmission through children, and as well as they need to not go for this prolonged school closure, because there are many reports which are saying that it will lead to increase in anxiety, depression, and as well as it is also decreasing learning ability of children. Okay, so we need to go for prioritizing of vaccination of teachers and school support staff, and we need to go for decentralized approach where district level officials, they need to be taken into account. And also we are seeing on another side, there is increase in poverty levels during this pandemic. So because of this increase in pandemic levels, they may also led to a worrying spurt in early marriage of girls in India. So there is increase in child marriages. So recently Karnataka NGO came up with a report that said that more than 2,100 child marriages that was seen within this pandemic period. So you can understand how many number of marriages that are happening in India, that is child marriages even. So whenever child marriage is happening, that will be leading to increase in maternal mortality also, because whenever we are going for delivery of a baby at a child age, at a very low age, then that condition will lead to increase in maternal mortality rate, and also that will lead to anemia in women, right? So here child marriage, they need to be addressed here, and there is also increased gender based violence and also increased vulnerability of girls mainly to abuse and as well as trafficking. So these are some important needs that need to be taken, and these are some areas we need to think about. And in this context, what can be done, what is way forward? So first one is we can go for global crisis. So because of this global pandemic or global crisis, so the road ahead which is uncertain now. So we need to take some long-standing efforts on long-standing efforts that need to be taken. So because of this global pandemic or a global crisis, we are seeing health crisis and as well as education problem. So because of all these things, now we are experiencing long-standing effects on adolescents and as well as youth. And next one is we need to provide an incentive for parents to send their children to school. So why children will be sent to school? Because whenever we are ensuring that nutritious food which is available in food, and whenever we are providing calorie intake for children, then here parents who are not able to afford to provide proper nutrition for their children, they will send their children to school. So it is one of important success of this midday meals program actually. And next one is Ministry of Education, they need to take some steps to ensure adolescents, especially during this pandemic. And here Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, they must collaborate with this Ministry of Education and mainly to disseminate key information to help adolescents safeguard and their health and as well as ability to learn. So because of this closure of schools, it also impacted number of schemes of government. For example, delivery of menstrual hygiene products to adolescents, and as well as the teachers, they can work as volunteers for collaborating with frontline. And here we need to also consider these teachers as frontline health workers, and they also can be helped to distribute the sanitary napkins to girls. And next one is we need to address the mental health and as well as education ministries. They need to strengthen outreach via existing helplines, and they need to enable conversions regarding some critical issues of reproductive and as well as sexual health. So these are some important steps that can be taken. So this is just of this topic. And now let us move on to next topic. Title says a right to safety. So this article mainly talking about recently Uber and UNESCO. They come together mainly to offer free rides for teachers who want to go for this vaccination centers. So because of this is in news. So here we are going to see about two phases of this story. So first we are going to see first phase of story, and later on we are going to see other side of the story. So this article will be important regarding GS paper 2 under health, and as well as we can also add under this education. So one thing I want to say here is, before seeing this article, I want to make a small announcement. So if you want to clear UPSC 2022, we came up with one excellent, highly beneficial and also highly economical course, that is current affairs package along with mains answer writing practice. So how this course will be useful to clear this UPSC 2022? So one thing you need to remember, so before entering into examination hall, you need to know at least 1.5 years current affairs for sure. And this is right time to join this course to cover this 1.5 years current affairs in a comprehensive manner. And in this course, we are mainly focusing on answer writing skills, because many students who are freshers or who are beginners, they ignore this mains answer writing practice. So they may be thinking like, after completing basic NCERTs, we are going to start that. And after completing some standard books, we are going to start that. But you all aware that our syllabus is very vast. So you can't complete those books within your time. So because of this, you are keeping aside this mains answer writing practice. You are focusing wholly on prelims. So with your hard work, you can easily clear prelims. But without mains answer writing practice, you cannot clear mains. So because of this, here in this course, we are mainly focusing on how to improve your answer writing skills. And next one here is, if you join this course, we also conduct prelims test on every Sunday, and we provide you video explanation part. So in this way, this course which is mainly designed as per demand of UPSC. So finally, I want to say one thing, please don't take this course as a choice. Try to join this course as soon as possible and achieve your dream of clearing UPSC. And one more thing here is, apart from this course, we also launched Indian Geography. So you can also join that course. So details of these courses are given in description box. So please visit that once. And if you want to talk to me directly regarding these courses, you can call to this number 8074765513. Okay. Now let's come back and let us see about this a ride to safety article. So context mainly says that because of this COVID-19, we are facing health crisis. So not only health, it also disrupted each and every sector of our economy. So because of this COVID-19 severely impacted gains made in education sector over last few years. So from over last few years, whatever the significant gains we got in our education sector, those are mainly impacted because of this COVID-19. So in India, about 1.5 million schools they shut down in 2020 March onwards. So this mainly affecting about 320 million learners and also impacting their education, protection and as well as well-being of people. And next one is, so mainly regarding this education, teachers are taking some exceptional efforts, okay, and these efforts they must be highlighted in this time of this COVID-19. And if you see here, they need to be renamed as frontline workers, mainly because they are ensuring continuity of education or continuity of learning among the children. So here in this context, what is the need? Need here is, we need to recognize teachers as frontline workers, and we need to prioritize these frontline workers in this vaccination campaign. So already this step which is mainly done by number of state governments, but we need to replicate that throughout the nation, that is nationwide. So we need that whenever we are prioritizing these people, teachers, and whenever we are going for vaccination to these people, and we can speed up reopening of schools so that students they can get back into their personal learning, right? So because of this closure of schools, so many students they are not going to schools, and as well as many students they do not have access to this online teaching. So because of this, it mainly affecting personal learning of children. So mainly to speed up this reopening of schools, so we need to go for prioritizing these teachers as a frontline workers, and we need to incorporate them in our vaccination drive. So if you're talking about second phase of this story, so yes, well and good. So we are having mass vaccination campaigns. So government came with the vaccination campaigns. Yes, it is a very, very good thing. And this mass vaccination campaigns, which mainly depends upon availability of vaccines. But also one thing we are mainly ignoring, that is suitable transportation facilities are available or not. So many people, they are not focusing on whether suitable transportation facilities are present or not, mainly to people to enter into those centers. So if you're talking about teachers, are mainly worried about traveling long distances to these vaccination centers, and if they want to use this public transport, there is a mainly fear of transmitting of this COVID-19. So because of these things here, teachers now, they are not able to access other means of convergence. So mainly to address this problem, so recently ride sharing mainly concept which came up by company Uber and UNESCO. So UNESCO and Uber, they came together to offer free rides for teacher vaccination campaign. So this will be mainly focusing on to provide teachers the means to travel to this vaccination center in a safe manner. So if you're talking about some facts regarding this initiative, so which mainly offers 1 lakh rides to 25,000 teachers. So for 2 doses means for one time they need to go to hospital and they need to return. Okay, so for 2 doses means there is a 4-time rides that will be given free. So this recently implemented in Chennai, Coimbatore, and as well as Tiruchirappalli, etc. So if you are talking about global partnership, so last year UNESCO also launched some global education coalition, that is GEC. So this GEC is a platform for mainly collaboration to protect the right of education during this pandemic and as well as beyond this pandemic. So this coalition mainly brings together more than 175 members from United Nations family and as well as academia and the civil society and as well as private sector. So this coalition mainly focusing on 3 key issues like connectivity, teachers and gender. So they are mainly helpful for continuous access to education for all. So in this way, we need to take some measures. So these measures, they need to prevent the spread of virus, and as well as these measures need to provide some assistance. Finally, they need to ensure mental well-being of all the children. So in this way, here whenever we are going for acceleration of vaccination process, so this will be very helpful for reopening of schools as soon as possible. So these are some important things that you need to remember. And I hope it is very much clear now. So by this we are concluding today. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. And don't forget to enroll to this current affairs package in Indian geography. Thank you so much.